So hi, my name is Mustafa. I'm an associate in the tax function at A&M London, and I work within executive compensation services, which is a small team within the tax function. So I think there were a couple of reasons why A&M was the place that I chose. The first reason was that, so I guess it makes sense to mention my background, which is I qualified as a chartered accountant at one of the big four firms before I joined A&M, which was quite a traditional route for people who are joining. And the role at A&M within tax was a perfect match for me. So they were looking for newly qualified ACAs to join their very rapidly growing team in London. And it just made perfect sense for me as someone who'd worked in an audit background, and they were actively looking for someone from that sort of skill set. So that was kind of the first thing that really jumped out at me. I really thought that I'm the sort of person they're looking for. And the second thing that really sort of, I think, stood out for me at A&M was the opportunities for growth and development. They told me that they've been growing quite rapidly for the past 2 or 3 years, and the teams are constantly expanding, and people are developing very, very rapidly through the company as a result of that. And coming from a fairly large company where the development opportunities were more limited, it seemed quite attractive. And this combined with the more transparent pay structure at A&M really sort of drew me to the firm, which I think is something that is quite unique to this firm as compared to other firms, which is the fact that your compensation on your reward is directly tied to the amount of billable hours that you're actually working, or the amount of effort that you're putting in, which isn't always the case with other firms, perhaps some larger big four firms, if you're coming from there. So those were, I think, the main reasons. The other thing that's worth mentioning as well, which is again really, I think, quite unique to A&M as well, is the ability to move around internally. So there is a big emphasis on networking, internal networking, and the encouragement for employees to network with people who are from really different parts of the firm, and see the connections that you can make and the work that you can sort of draw in from each other. And that's something that really came across in my first few weeks at A&M, where I met with lots of different people from completely different parts of the firm, and there was a real strong sense of, if you're interested in what we do, just message us and we can start working together. So that's something that I think is very, very powerful, because it often isn't the case at big four firms. And the reason why I mentioned big four is I come from that background, so I know that there's quite a lot of barriers in terms of moving around internally, which isn't the case at A&M. And that is a massive plus, because if for some reason you find a role within the firm that you find more interesting, or that that seems more aligned towards your skill set, there is that flexibility to actually go ahead and make that possible for yourself by networking, and there won't be sort of any administrative barriers put in front of you. There's two things. The first is definitely the free food and snacks. Coming from a big four background, you don't get a lot of that. So the first day in the office in London, I was getting shown around, and they took me to the kitchen, and they said that these drinks and these snacks you can just have. And so I asked them, where do I pay for this? And they said, it's completely free. You can have it, whenever you want. So that's the I think the thing that I've enjoyed the most. But on a more serious note, I think the thing that has kept me in the role and actually kept me motivated, and I think this is consistent for any role that you work in, but specifically at A&M, it's the people that I've worked with. So I've genuinely found a very, very different culture at A&M compared to wherever else I've worked before. It's very, very collegiate. It's very informal. You can approach people, and you can ask silly questions. You can ask really sort of random questions, and you'll always find you'll find people that are really willing to help. And I think that's something that really stood out to me, especially in my first few weeks here, where I immediately felt as though there's a place for me here, and I can really get on with the people that I'm working with. So yeah, that's kind of, I would say, the two main reasons. I think the main thing that I've learned at A&M is learning how to make things happen. Be someone who can go out there and create something or bring something into fruition. An example of this is right now I'm working on setting up A&M's first Muslim network, or Enterprise Resource Group as it's called, and I've received tremendous amount of support from the team in London, the Inclusive Diversity Office. They're very, very open to it, and something that they were actually looking for someone to go ahead and take the initiative to start. And I guess what I realized is that people are there to support you in whatever you want to do. If you're willing to put in the effort, if you're willing to find out the steps that need to be taken, you'll always find someone who's willing to support you doing that. And there's no sort of barriers or sort of processes or systems in place or unnecessary administrative blocks that will stop you from doing what you actually want to do. And so I guess with this experience of setting up a new network, which I'm in the process of doing right now, I've seen that the scope of work, or the scope of project that you can do at A&M is quite wide. So you have a lot of opportunity to develop something or create something that you're passionate about, be it a community or a project, or go after a certain client, and they'll make it happen for you, or they'll provide you the support, or they'll put you in touch with the right people to make it happen.